And although you kind of know that this might happen, you don't really think about it very much. Not least of all because the monarchy is about continuity. But I think for my brother, this is something he's been waiting for.
For decades, Queen Elizabeth's private sapphire collection remained one of the British monarchy's most guarded and mysterious secrets. Rare, jewels that were whispered about but rarely ever seen. Now, shocking reports suggest that Princess Anne has stepped in behind. Palace walls demanding that Camilla's daughter return precious pieces allegedly tied directly to the late Queen's hidden legacy. Why would Princess Anne intervene so forcefully? And what exactly sparked this tense royal confrontation? As royal insiders hint at growing divisions, the truth emerging from the palace is far more dramatic than anyone ever expected, and it could expose an incredibly bitter struggle over loyalty, inheritance, and royal power itself. But do you honestly think Camilla's daughter would be bold enough to use Queen Elizabeth's jewellery? Would she have claimed ownership if Princess Anne hadn't collected it? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. To help us create more videos and uncover the latest juicy royal drama, please subscribe now. Sapphire Legacy Royal Rift. For many decades, the British royal family has worked incredibly hard to present a public image of calm dignity, unity, and deep tradition. From the outside, everything almost always looks polished and controlled. Shining crowns carefully planned, ceremonies, formal speeches, and well-rehearsed public appearances. Every single detail seems to reflect stability and ongoing continuity. But behind this carefully built picture, many royal watchers believe there is another world that is far less calm. It is said to be a private place filled with quiet tensions, unspoken disagreements, and long-standing rivalries over influence, respect, and the ultimate protection of family legacy. In this world, nothing is truly random. Even the smallest gesture can carry massive meaning. Even a piece of jewellery passed down through generations can become much more than decoration. It can become a symbol of identity, power, and history. And sometimes symbols like these are believed to spark incredibly deep disagreements within palace circles. Now a new and dramatic claim has begun to circulate, drawing intense public attention. Reports and royal whispers suggest that a major controversy has emerged around one of Queen Elizabeth II's most treasured collections, her famous sapphire jewels. These pieces are said to hold not only massive financial value, but also deep emotional and historical importance tied directly to the late Queen herself. According to growing but still unverified palace reports, Princess Anne is said to be deeply concerned over an alleged dispute involving Queen Camilla's daughter, Laura Lopes. At the very centre of the controversy are several priceless sapphire pieces believed to carry incredibly strong royal and historical importance. Insiders claim worries began after whispers emerged that some of these highly treasured jewels may have quietly left official royal protection and entered private hands. This has sparked serious questions about their overall safety, their future, and whether anyone outside the royal family should even possess them. Buckingham Palace, however, has remained completely silent. No official public statement has been released to confirm or dismiss these claims, leaving the public with far more questions than answers. That silence has only intensified the mystery, encouraging fresh speculation and highly dramatic theories. In royal affairs, uncertainty almost always creates the perfect environment for rumours to spread, and this latest controversy appears to be doing exactly that. Those close to the situation insist that this is not simply about immense wealth or luxury items. Instead, they describe it as something far deeper, a struggle over memory, inheritance, and the heavy responsibility of protecting a sacred royal legacy. At its heart, it is about who gets to safeguard the history of the monarchy and how that history should be preserved for future generations. Standing right at the centre of this unfolding story is Princess Anne, known for her strong sense of duty, direct nature, and lifelong loyalty to her family's rich heritage. She is portrayed as someone deeply committed to protecting her late mother's legacy without compromise. Whether these claims are ever confirmed or not, the story continues to spark heated debate, fascination, and renewed attention on the hidden dark complexities of royal life. What makes the sapphire so special that it has become a topic of debate? How has it been able to stir up so much intense controversy? Let's explore the details of these sapphires that became a queen's identity, the queen's ultimate sapphire legacy. To truly understand why this controversy has stirred up such strong emotions, one must first appreciate the deep meaning behind Queen Elizabeth's stunning sapphire collection. These were never just ordinary royal ornaments worn for beauty or status. They were closely tied to the most personal and defining moments of her entire life, almost like silent witnesses to her long journey as a daughter, a wife, and a queen. The story of the Sapphire Suite begins in 1947, a year filled with hope and change. On her wedding day, King George VI gifted his daughter Princess Elizabeth a truly stunning set of deep blue sapphires, which came with a necklace, a pair of matching earrings, and a sparkling brooch. Far beyond the dazzling shine, this present carried heavy emotion. It was a father's loving blessing as his young daughter headed to the altar, completely unaware she would soon carry the weight of an entire kingdom. As the long decades rolled by, Queen Elizabeth did not leave this precious collection untouched. She quietly added to it in her own deeply meaningful way, most famously adding the spectacular Belgian Sapphire Tiara. Unlike other historic royal jewels that simply passed down from one royal generation to the next, this specific tiara was personally purchased by the Queen herself. She redesigned the piece, completely reshaping it and giving the diamonds a fresh identity. By doing this, she created something that perfectly reflected her personal taste, strict discipline, and profound sense of duty. Whenever she wore these iconic sapphires in public, they made a massive statement without words, representing to the world far more than pure elegance. They stood for absolute stability during highly uncertain times, robust leadership, and an enduring sense of deep continuity in a rapidly changing world. Over several decades, these gorgeous jewels became a major part of her signature style, appearing at state banquets, crucial diplomatic gatherings, and historic royal occasions that shaped the destiny of modern Britain. One truly unforgettable moment happened in 2017 during her historic Sapphire Jubilee, marking 65 years on the British throne. In the official portrait released for the grand milestone, she wore the complete sapphire set. The historic image looked incredibly powerful and deeply symbolic, showing a timeless, enduring monarch surrounded by quiet symbols of ultimate sacrifice, duty, and lifelong royal service. These specific sapphires were not merely expensive decorations, but carried immense history, deep memory, and raw emotion, telling the silent story of a historic reign that shaped. For countless people, they represent so much more than priceless royal jewels. They reflect an entire lifetime of duty, resilience, and steady leadership that inspired deep admiration across multiple generations, leaving behind a monumental legacy that still feels incredibly alive today in the collective memory and historical records across the entire globe and far beyond. But what exactly brings Queen Camilla into this scene? Did she actually inherit these precious royal sapphires from the late Queen Elizabeth? Let us uncover all the dramatic details behind the late monarch's legendary jewel inheritance. Now, Camilla's sapphire choice is fueling major royal tension. When Queen Elizabeth II passed away in September, 2022, it marked the final end of a massive historic era that had shaped not only the United Kingdom but also much of the entire world's modern royal identity. Millions of people across nations mourned this colossal loss, reflecting on her decades of service. Ancient tradition and comforting stability. However deep inside Buckingham Palace and other grand royal residences, life did not pause for a second. Instead, a tense period of quiet adjustment began immediately as massive questions about royal succession, symbolism, inheritance, and the future visual brand of the British monarchy came into much sharper focus behind strictly closed doors. It was during this highly delicate period that the new Queen Camilla was reported to have quietly started wearing some of the late Queen Elizabeth's most iconic sapphire, luxury jewellery pieces. Shockingly, only a few months after the beloved monarch's tragic passing, she appeared in public proudly wearing that same Belgian Sapphire Tiara at a high-profile formal state banquet. Soon after, she was spotted wearing the exact same piece at another major royal event, which instantly sparked intense public attention and heated online discussion. Palace officials quickly tried to describe these appearances as a simple gesture of respect and continuity, suggesting she was merely honouring the legacy of Queen Elizabeth while symbolising royal stability within the modern household during this highly sensitive transition. But deep inside elite royal circles, absolutely not everyone reportedly saw the situation that way. Fierce critics believe that Camilla's quick use of these sapphire jewels carried a much deeper, perhaps more sinister symbolic message. By stepping into the exact same pieces of royal jewellery so soon after the monarch's passing, she appeared to some sceptical observers to be quietly injecting herself into the powerful visual role once so strongly associated with the late Queen Elizabeth. This royal symbolism grew even stronger when Camilla paired the stunning sapphire tiara with historically significant heirloom diamond jewellery, pieces that have long been directly linked to immense royal prestige, sovereign authority, and global influence. To many seasoned royal watchers, the entire public image looked completely deliberate, carefully styled, and highly calculated. Some palace insiders reportedly believed that Camilla was not simply wearing historic royal jewels, but was instead boldly symbolically stepping into a massive new role within royal history itself, as if eagerly positioning herself within the long unbroken narrative of the British crown. According to these critical views, the deep meaning went far beyond fashion or mere tradition, touching directly on raw identity and power. This controversial interpretation is what many claim sparked a quiet, simmering tension that began rising rapidly behind palace doors. In the weeks and months that soon followed, intense discussions around raw royal symbolism only grew far more intense among sharp commentators and observers of the modern monarchy. Every single public appearance, every piece of historic jewellery, and every tiny ceremonial detail was scrutinised closely for hidden meaning. While formal palace statements continued to heavily emphasise deep respect, tradition, and smooth continuity within the royal family, suspicious public interpretation often moved in entirely different directions. For some royal watchers, it was simply the natural transition of a new queen consort confidently stepping into her role. For others, it signalled a massive shift in image identity and raw power within the unfolding drama of the modern monarchy as it quietly shifts behind closed doors. How did those precious sapphires end up with a private citizen? Who was she? What was her connection to Queen Camilla? Let us look closer at the private citizen who suddenly found herself right at the very centre of this brewing royal jewellery scandal. The general public really only knows Laura Lopes as Queen Camilla's daughter from her previous marriage to Andrew Parker Bowles, but very little beyond that surface detail is actually known by anyone. Unlike senior figures in the royal family, Laura has chosen a quiet, independent life far away from official duties and public appearances. She is deeply involved in the art world as a curator, carving out her own career built on culture, creativity, and private enterprise. Instead of relying on royal status or public privilege, she holds no fancy title and she carries zero constitutional. To put it simply, even though she is closely related to Queen Camilla, she is not considered a working member of the royal family. That distinction matters a lot when looking at her access to royal traditions, especially anything connected to crown property and family heritage. Royal jewels are never treated like typical family heirlooms. Most of these priceless pieces are bound to the identity of the crown itself. They are seen not just as flashy, expensive accessories, but as sacred historical symbols passed down through generations of monarchs. Because of this, there has always been a strict unspoken agreement about how these items are kept displayed or inherited. They are kept under lock and key through royal protocols instead of being handed out as private gifts to various relatives. This is exactly why the recent rumours about those sapphire pieces are so highly sensitive among palace insiders. According to whispers and wild speculation, serious concerns were raised that some sapphire heirlooms from Queen Elizabeth II's private collection might have made their way into Queen Camilla's wider family circle, with Laura Lopes' name being whispered in connection with this quiet relocation of these priceless pieces. Keep in mind that Queen Elizabeth II's final will and the exact division of her personal jewellery remains locked away and will not be shown to the public for decades. This lack of transparency naturally opens the door for wild rumours, where secret whispers easily turn into a loud public feud. Queen Elizabeth II was famous for owning one of the largest and most valuable jewellery collections in modern history. Her vault reportedly held hundreds of priceless pieces, including tiaras, necklaces, brooches, rings, bracelets, and earrings. While a few pieces were famous and often seen on camera, others were rarely photographed tucked away in private safes at Balmoral Castle or Sandringham House, far away from the public eye. It is this secret, highly guarded world of royal jewels that drives so much fascination and scandal, because when historic crown jewels, especially those symbolic sapphire gems, are rumoured to slip out of official palace hands even slightly, it sparks major questions about age-old traditions inside the British monarchy. For close observers, especially those deep within royal circles, like the ones backing Princess Anne's strict reputation for duty, even the slightest hint of informal handling of crown-linked treasures is seen as a major red flag and highly inappropriate. Is it fair to call Laura a real member of the royal family? Does she even act like one? Let's look closely at the facts of how and why Laura Lopes stays in the shadows, keeping private ties inside royal circles. Unlike high-profile working royals who always show up at grand state banquets, official ceremonies, and highly visible royal duties, Laura Lopes has actively chosen a much quieter route. She prefers to stay clear of the relentless media spotlight that follows the family. Instead of seeking fame, she has carved out a life that is far more private, peaceful, and focused entirely on her kids and professional work. Because of this, whenever she appears at royal gatherings, it instantly turns heads because it is such a rare sight. One particular moment that really stood out was her appearance at Sandringham for Christmas celebrations. This kind of elite gathering is usually reserved for the inner royal circle, so her presence naturally sparked huge interest. It also reminded many onlookers of how rare it actually is to see her participating in royal traditions. This situation is even more striking because of the complicated and sensitive history between her own family and the crown, which has deeply shaped how their relationships developed over the decades. Reports have frequently hinted that Laura's connection to the palace has always seemed to come with a healthy dose of emotional distance and very strict boundaries, and this is mostly down to that incredibly messy and complicated history between King Charles and Queen Camilla, particularly during those painful years when Charles and Diana, the Princess of Wales, watched their marriage completely fall apart. That dark chapter in royal history triggered massive public outrage and intense family drama, leaving scars that lasted decades. As Camilla's own children, including her daughter Laura, were never fully embraced by the royal institution in the way those born directly into the royal bloodline. Because of this, Laura has actively chosen to keep her distance. Instead of pushing for a public royal role, she chose to build a quiet, stable life for herself, raising her family and focusing on her own business career. Even when she shows up at royal events, she is never thrust into the spotlight or treated like a prominent member of the family. Her appearances are strictly low-key, managed with extreme caution and kept far away from the hunting media cameras. Yet her occasional appearances at major family events like the traditional Christmas walk at Sandringham suggest that tensions within the larger royal family have slowly softened into something much more accepting. Though she is not a working member of the firm, her position inside the wider family circle is clearly acknowledged and respected. In many ways, Laura Lopes represents that delicate balance the royal family tries to maintain between public, duty-messy family history and personal bonds that grow quietly behind closed doors. So, who stepped in to stop this? Drama right in its tracks and bring peace back to the palace. How did she pull it off? Let's look at the fearless protector of the late Queen's memory and Princess Anne's fierce stand. To really understand the high stakes behind this rumoured palace showdown, you first have to grasp who Princess Anne actually is and why her opinion carries so much weight. Anne has always stood out inside the British royal family as a woman defined not by flashy glamour or public relations, but by disciplined duty and total consistency. While other royals chase popularity, soft diplomacy, or highly polished public relations campaigns, Anne has built her entire reputation on something much more direct: real honesty, relentless hard work, and an absolute unshakable sense of duty. She is constantly praised as the single hardest working member of the entire royal family, frequently knocking out official duties with zero fuss and absolutely no desire for the spotlight. But underneath her public persona lies something far more profound: her deeply personal bond with Queen Elizabeth II. Anne was never just a dutiful daughter standing next to a reigning monarch. She shared an incredibly tight and secret bond with her mother. In fact, many reports confirm she was right there during the Queen's final hours, staying by her side until her very last breath. Anne later called it a true honour to guide her mother on that final journey, an experience that left a massive emotional mark on her. Since Queen Elizabeth passed away, Anne's devotions to her duty has only grown stronger. More than ever, she has stepped into the role of a silent guardian, someone fierce about protecting her mother's memory, honour and royal legacy in a way that is completely genuine and respectful. This is highly apparent when dealing with sacred royal heirlooms. To Princess Anne, family jewellery is never just fancy accessories meant for showing off or simple fashion. They are powerful symbols holding stories of past generations. Many of her signature pieces, the brooches, pearls and historic family items, are not picked for style alone but for deep personal meaning. They stand for history, remembrance and the strong women of the royal line who ruled before her. That is why rumours claiming that priceless sapphire jewels, once belonging to Queen Elizabeth, had quietly moved into private hands are said to have sparked real alarm. Inside the palace walls, insiders whisper that Anne sent a fierce warning to people close to Laura Lopes, demanding that any treasures linked directly to the late Queen's memory must stay under official crown protection rather than slipping into private collections or personal hands. And anyone who knows Princess Anne understands one simple truth. When she feels an issue is about true principles, ancient traditions, or honour for her mother's legacy, she will never back down or step. Aside, did Queen Elizabeth's personal collection hold way more than her famous jewellery? What did her hidden treasures actually consist of? Let us uncover the secrets of this hidden collection that almost nobody ever realised existed. This is Queen Elizabeth's secret sapphire mystery. One of the most thrilling parts of this unfolding royal drama is the massive buzz building around Queen Elizabeth's secret stash of rare sapphires. Just hearing about it instantly sparks massive curiosity, since we always assume those royal jewels are meticulously protected, catalogued, shown off to the public, and heavily guarded. In reality, though, the Queen's private jewellery world was shrouded in way more secrecy than anyone actually realised. Sure, the official crown jewels belong to the entire nation and are regularly seen during grand ceremonies, but Queen Elizabeth's personal collection stayed tucked away behind closed royal doors. This was a highly confidential stash amassed over decades, brimming with lavish gifts, inherited heirlooms, sentimental tokens and priceless royal items tied to the most significant milestones of her life. Historians believe the ERUPTS Queen actually owned over 300 luxurious pieces throughout her long reign. Yet we only ever got to see certain brooches, necklaces and tiaras only appeared during formal state banquets or diplomatic receptions and grand royal celebrations. But countless other pieces were almost never spotted outside the palace gates. Some priceless jewels were rumoured to be worn only in private. Others remained locked away for years inside secure royal vaults and personal safes. A select few items only surfaced for highly exclusive events known solely to a tight circle of royal insiders. In fact, even the most obsessed royal experts had absolutely no clue what actually existed inside the Queen's highly private vault. This thick veil of secrecy sparked a perfect storm of rumours right after Queen Elizabeth's passing. Once the one monarch who personally curated and understood this collection was gone, major questions instantly began to swirl about where these priceless heirlooms would actually end up next. This explains exactly why whispers about hidden sapphires became so irresistible to royal followers. And the real worry was not about outright theft or some criminal plot. Instead, the deeper anxiety focused on something way more emotional and highly symbolic. Many feared that priceless sentimental sapphire pieces connected directly to Queen Elizabeth's private memories and royal heritage might have quietly slipped into personal hands without any clear explanation, public accountability, or actual palace oversight. For dedicated royalists, these spectacular jewels represented far more than pure beauty or wealth. They carried rich history, family legacy, and emotional weight. Every sapphire necklace, bracelet, or brooch tells a rich story tied directly to a major royal milestone, a beloved family member, or even a highly personal chapter in the Queen's life. This is exactly where Princess Anne reportedly became a central figure in the mounting tension. Widely respected for her fierce loyalty, discipline, and tight bond with her mother, Anne is believed to hold unparalleled knowledge of the late Queen's private belongings and customs. Close insiders suggest she would notice immediately if specific historic pieces suddenly vanished from regular royal circulation. According to juicy palace whispers, this exact knowledge is what likely sparked the fierce confrontation in the first place. If highly sentimental, priceless sapphire pieces were no longer showing up where they were supposed to be, Princess Anne might have felt a personal duty to step in, demand some real answers, and fiercely protect the legacy her mother left behind. What is the bigger picture behind all of this royal chaos? Is the royal family even in control anymore? Let us unpack the dramatic details of this fight over legacy power and the ultimate future of the crown, the battle for royal legacy. Right at the centre of this messy royal drama lies something way bigger than just a stash of sparkling sapphires. The stunning jewels are actually just the superficial front for a much deeper, far more intense emotional feud. One tied to legacy, identity, tradition, and the actual future path of the House of Windsor, following the tragic passing of Queen Elizabeth II. For more than 70 long years, Queen Elizabeth stood tall as the ultimate symbol of duty, stability, and royal continuity. Through massive political shifts, constant family scandals, and heavy public pressures, she remained the completely unshakable face of the crown. Over time, even the magnificent jewels she wore became deeply linked to that iconic image. The sapphires, brooches, dazzling tiaras, and necklaces were never treated as simple fashion accessories. They served as literal silent witnesses to history. Every public appearance, every grand state banquet, and every royal ceremony added layers of meaning to those treasured pieces. Because of this deep connection, control over these historic items is never treated as a basic family dispute. To many inside royal circles, whoever guards and carries these powerful symbols actually helps shape how future generations will always remember Queen Elizabeth's historic legacy. That explains exactly why emotions over the disputed sapphire collection have reportedly grown so incredibly tense behind palace walls. Princess Anne is rumoured to hold particularly strong convictions about protecting her mother's personal legacy exactly the way her mother intended. According to several reports, Anne firmly believes these historic treasures belong strictly within the core institution of the crown, remaining closely tied to the direct royal line of succession. Supporters of her stance argue that these priceless jewels should keep passing down to future senior royals rather than slowly slipping away into the hands of more distant or completely untitled relatives. Now, royal insiders are pointing directly to explosive reports swirling around Catherine, the Princess of Wales, and her daughter, Princess Charlotte. In fact, there is growing speculation that Kate Middleton desperately wants these priceless family heirlooms to go directly to Charlotte, which would ensure those historic pieces stay tied to future lines of monarchs. To traditionalists, this specific path protects both the deep symbolism and rich historical weight of these crown jewels. But letting these priceless treasures slip away from the royal family's central bloodline would mark a massive departure from historic protocol. To critics, it might permanently damage the connection between the British crown and the very icons that have defined it for centuries. That is exactly why this dramatic clash carries. And while whispers suggest that those highly contested sapphire pieces are finally heading back to official palace custody, the painful cracks inside the House of Windsor won't heal anytime soon. Bitter feuds between Princess Anne and key figures lurking in Queen Camilla's tight inner circle are rumoured to have become incredibly intense. Yet those very close to Anne insist she is totally willing to endure these severely fractured relationships if it safeguards what she holds as her late mother's sacred memory and the absolute dignity of the royal crown. To her, this bitter fight isn't just about some expensive diamonds. It is strictly about loyalty, family inheritance, ultimate royal authority, and who gets the last word on shaping the monarchy's legacy after the death of Queen Elizabeth II. While Princess Anne stays, this determined many royal insiders believe she will keep on fighting with everything she has to lock those historic symbols exactly where she feels they belong, right at the heart of the crown. So, what is your take on Laura Lopes and her complicated place in this dynasty? Do you actually think she deserves a real royal title? Drop your thoughts and opinions in the comments section below.